Welcome back to another Subaru video. It's cold in here, but we're gonna do something fun. I'm gonna put in big, fat injectors into the Subaru to make more power to potentially blow up the engine. It's all our dreams. Let's make them come true. Come on, come on. Well, as you guys know, I'm pretty cheap. I try to get the best bang for the buck, but I don't go too cheap. I don't get plastic parts and stuff like that are obviously going to break. I try to get things from scrap Subarus that will still fit in here. I get, deals on certain things like the intake. It's like 50 bucks for the whole thing. It fits, it works perfectly fine. Normally 300. Anyway, I get things cheaply. So I was looking everywhere for injectors, and my God, they're expensive. But I did find something. 50 Motorsport. I went to these guys, and they had injectors that fit the Subaru. But they're not for Subaru, they're for Nissan. Apparently Nissan and Subaru make the same size injectors. So I got 850cc injectors, because there's no reason for me to go any bigger than 850. I'm not gonna be making outrageous power on this thing. This pretty much is as far as I'm gonna go. So I got these. Only downside here to these guys is, as you can see, I've got these. They ran out of the adapters, so now I've either got to wire it myself or repin it. So, yay. So first things first, besides me being a craftsman, we need to find our current injectors. So if you go into here, you can see that little yellow top. Those are our injectors. This is a 4-cylinder boxer engine, so we've got 2 cylinders on both sides, which leaves you with a total of 4. So there's 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. There's one right there, and there's one right there. I haven't done this before, so take this journey with me, and we'll figure out what we need to get out of the way. A lot of wires in the way here. Let's see, at least for this one, we've got a harness. We can get that out of the way. We've got the harness that goes onto the injector itself. Besides that, it's all just wiring in the way. There's nothing physical like this guy to take out. We could take this guy out. We've done that about 1,000 times on each video. Just take those 2 plugs out. Those guys, boop, comes right out. Let's see what we can get done here. All right, so I actually think I'll be able to get it from here. I was able to disconnect the harness on the injector itself. So that guy, and also the harness over here. We get those out of the way, and if you just move these wires out of the way, you can see right down there, there's a bit. It looks like a Torx bit right in there. I don't know what size it is, but I guess we'll find out. Once that comes off, that's really the only thing holding this down into place. So I just gotta figure out what size that is and pop that off. You can see on this side, it's just a little hinge that's clipped in there. That's it. So these guys, they're actually both right next to each other. They are T25s. However, these things are so old and so crusted, they're not going anywhere. I just put the T25 in there and slowly started to turn, and just it shredded like it was clay. So I'm gonna have some fun with this one. A little bit of lube, a little bit of vice grips, we'll get there. Okay, so half of them done. Actually, not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like I said, I got some vice grips on there. These things are very small screws, so they're not gonna be crazy torqued on there. So I got the vice grips on there, just enough room to get onto this one. And then if you just kind of slowly tug on it and turn, it'll crack it loose. Once you crack it loose, you can either keep going with the vice grips, or I just put the torque bit back on there. And like I'm doing on this one, I did the same thing on this side. This one's a little bit more difficult because of the stuff that's in the way. But then you just get this, once it's cracked loose, you can start turning it until it's open. I still got to take the harness off that side, but since I had the room, I was gonna take all those off first. Okay, hopefully the hard part is now done on the right side. All right, now that I have the screw out of there. Let's see if I can do this with the camera in my way. This little guy should be able to pop up. We'll swing it around. I'm not really sure if that comes off or not. I don't think it does come off. I'll just leave that over there. If it falls, we'll probably never find it. Nope! Open! Anyway, once that's open, we just have to give a little tuggy tug on this guy because it's just seated with that O-ring, and yeah, it'll come out. So hopefully that won't be too hard. All right, I may have marred them up a little bit by grabbing my 90-degree needle nose in there and popping it up, but I did get it loose. So let's see if I can. Yep, I got this thing totally popped out. A little bit of fuel there. And there we go. And they're a little dirty. But we're gonna do a nice fat upgrade on these and get some more fuel stuffed in that engine. Really looks good. The seals look good on it. Just a little bit of dirt up in there. But as far as I know, these are original. These 150,000 mile injectors, and they look pretty darn good. But it's time to sleep now. Shh, shh, you sleep. Now that I have the injectors out, my biggest issue is the pinning. So I need to remove this and pop on this. So there's a way to take these out without breaking them or buying new ones. There's a way to take the pins out of the back side of here, which look like this, and then pop this black harness into place of that harness. Now, if you have Subaru OEM or aftermarket Subaru ones, you just toss them on there, plug them in. You don't need to watch this part. But if you're cheap like me, then there is a way. So let's take a look at these. Oh, wait. This is what they look like. This little white part right here, you just grab it and you pull it straight out. That's the only difference that we're looking at here. So once you pull that out, it's gonna look like this. Now I have the pins removed so it's easier to see. So let me get a better view. All right, so if we're holding the pin like this, I'll use that background. You can see there's no pins in there. If we're holding the pin in this direction, this is what I see it as up. If we look inside, you'll be able to see there's that red background from the top of my battery, so you can see right through it. The top, they have little plastic, I'll say pins. They're little pins that go down. So when you put the metal little pin inside there, inside that hole, it'll drop down and it'll lock it from coming back because this is holding it in place. All you have to do is get a small flathead screwdriver, put it inside that hole and lift it up so then you can pull it out. If that makes any sense, I'll give a little demonstration. I've already got this one out because I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like on the inside. Those are little pins. They're up top and they angle down like that. Like I said, you just have to lift them up so you can pull these little pins out. So now that those are done, I'll grab two more. All right, so this is one with all the pins inside. I haven't touched this one. And if we take a look inside here, you can see the pins, the silver part, are in place, and then above them, there's little black squares. Those are the pins that are holding it in place. So I'm gonna get my little flathead, poke it up against that, push it up, and then pull the pin out. That will give me a nice clear harness that I can do the same thing onto these ones, pull the pins off of those ones, pop them straight into this one, and it's like, boom, brand new connector. I don't have to do soldering. I don't have to do any of that sketchy stuff. It just pops right in. All right, so flat part, we'll go ahead and make it flat. Set it on top here, push it back until we hit that resistance. We're gonna pull up on it and then back on the pin. So here's the pin on the Subaru. This one goes down to that injector, the one that I have pulled. These are a lot easier because they're right there in front of you. I just popped these up so you can see that's what they look like when they're popped up. I haven't even pulled them all the way out yet, but all you have to do is just get that little plastic piece up there, move it up, and then, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's all it was. Game over. I win. So after depinning, I can see that these pins look a whole lot different. So here's one side that's the pinched together one, and then the other side that's got that hole. And that part is for hooking onto that locking mechanism on that one. However, that part's locking mechanism is in a different location than these. So those will lock into here, but they're way too far back for any connections. So it's not gonna work. I thought it was gonna be cool and smart and just do it the easy way, but because of that, I can't. So I'm gonna go back to my old plan, just snap all these pins back in and then solder the ends. All right, just got both of those soldered up to the new harness. You can make it as long as or as short as you want. I just did this to show you guys that they are soldered, and then I'm going to wrap them in some silicone wrap, make sure they're nice and tight together. And now I can get my blue towel out of the way, make sure nothing went into my little hole in the engine. So now I can grab my new injector and pop it in there. So now that this connector is gonna fit on top of there, so I can get this popped into there, which is as easy as, well, moving some stuff out of the way before I do that. All right, so these guys are not easy to just pop in. So I'm trying to get the metal latch that goes around there and then screw it in so it helps pop it in. I needed to replace those really, really brittle screws. So I figured out they are M5s, and I'm using an M5 by 10. So hopefully that helps you guys out. So right now I'm just like slowly turning it, which is pushing it further and further down as it threads itself in. So hopefully this gives it enough oomph to pop it into place. I put a little bit of oil around the O-ring to make it a little bit easier when I was trying to do it by hand. I'm just waiting for it. I can still see the O-ring on the side. You guys can see it right there. Still trying to do this, and it's still not coming in. I'm almost to the bottom, and I'm to the bottom, and it's still not seated. So what the hell? All right, I was able to get it down there and then screwed on. Of course, as you can see, I also plugged it in, but the only way I was able to actually get that seated correctly was to get a flathead and put it on right here, the metal part, not on the injector itself, but on the side, and then tap the top of it with a hammer until it seated itself. Once it seated itself, then I could push it the rest of the way down with the screw, and now everything is nice and flush, and I can move on to my little buried friend over here. I just need to get it unplugged. This wiring is gonna be a little bit harder. All right, I was able to pop the harness off. There it is right there. It's kind of tucked underneath this wiring harness over here, so I just popped it out through there and put it up here, so you get a little bit of working room, and I mean a little bit, to take either the pins out, or if you do need to do the new harness like me, take it out here and solder. That's just a teensy weensy little bit of room. The rest of it's attached to the big fat harness, so there's not really any more leeway there, unless you're gonna take all this stuff off, which would not be my first choice. But anyway, next up is to get that guy out, which shouldn't be too hard. We just move this stuff out of the way. We've got our little retaining metal piece here. We move that up out of the way, and then we just need to get something down here in order to grab onto this, because if you grab it with your hand and try to pull up, it's not gonna work. So same thing as before, pop the injector out, put a rag down there, and now I'm just gonna get some wire cutters, snip that off, peel back the wires, and another one of these, and begin the journey. Okay, so I had to do the same thing on this side. First, I had to anchor it down with the screw on that metal plate, and then I had to tap it in with the screwdriver to get it fully seated. It just slowly pops in there, and then I wrap the wire. As you can see, that one's all wrapped up. I got it plugged in. Everything is good on this side. I did end up kind of moving the washer reservoir out of the way to give myself a bit more room, because it was just not working otherwise. So now that all this stuff is good, let me wrap that back up. Now that all that is good, we're done with the right side. We're halfway done. All right, now that we're over here on the left side, one thing we definitely have to remove is our air intake. So mine is probably different than yours, so all I'm gonna do is disconnect the wires, take the alligator clip off, pop this off, and we'll be able to see more down there. So once you get your air intake, you got a whole bunch more room for activities in here. And then right over there, you can see I've got that one unplugged. That's very easable of accessibility. And then the other one you can see is hidden back there. There's no other way to get to it but to remove all this stuff in the way, because if we try to come back here, there's no room. There's no way to go back there. There's hoses in the way. So we've got to remove some stuff over here. Well, this is proving to be an absolute pain in the butt just to get to this last injector. I've taken this nut off, this bolt out, this bolt out. I've taken a handful of other ones off. I've taken one off up here, another one off right over here. You can see where that hole is right down there. And then pretty much just taking stuff off left and right. I've been able to get, because of those three, this loose so I can kind of look around. These two bolts give that a little bit of play, but still these are pretty hard lined in there. I think the last thing that I can think of is this bracket. It's really hard to see in here. There's a bracket right there. You can see that's kind of in the way. If I was to ever get a screw in that spot to get that injector off, it looks like I need to get this bracket out. So I'm also going to take out that screw, that bolt right there. And then there's another one around the corner up top. Yeah, there it is. So there's also a ground connected to it. You can see it right there. There's that ground wire connected to that one. I think those are the only two bolts that are holding this whole thing in place. Oh, I hate this injector so much. I haven't even touched it yet. I think I figured out the magic code. This bracket, the one I was talking about that has two bolts in it, sits in there. I had to, oh, it actually went that way, but I had to cut this one off because there was no way I could get it out, obviously. Let me look at what the other side is. Oh, I guess you could have just pulled this thing out. Didn't know that, but now you guys know that. You could just stick a screwdriver under there and pop that out. I'm just gonna remove that. It's really squeezed in there, so I really doubt that that part of the harness is gonna go anywhere. But now that I have that out, you can actually see a little bit clearer the injector. So I still have all this stuff loose. So you'll be able to scoot that up. Look in there. All the rest of this stuff, it looks like hoses. I might be able to move that blue wire harness out of the way to give a little bit more room. But man, they really effed us on this one. All right, this one was pretty much the same as the ones on the right. Very easy, very accessible. Popped out the old one, popped in the new one, blah, blah, blah. You've already seen all that. Now, let me take you through the journey of this difficult son of a who. Pretty much got everything as loose as it can possibly get over here without physically like bleeding the lines and taking all the coolant system stuff out just to get to that. Other people have done this and I don't think they've had to go that far, so fingers crossed. My light's about to die, it's very dim. At least you can pull out this and solder this quite easily. So just pop those off, solder it, get back to work on that hidden gem back there. Okay, knocked out the easiest thing first was soldering on the new one. Now, first things we got to do, oh, it's even hard to see up here, is that little teeny tiny screw. These two screws, you can see this one, I replaced it. The ones on this side, I spritzed a little WD-40 on there to penetrate in there. These two, I guess because they're so hidden, they have much less weathering and wear and tear. These ones I popped out so easily and screwed them back in just because they're still usable. So maybe yours is too. But I can just reach mine in here. And this reservoir can also lift up. It's hard to do this with one hand. But you can lift this up and you can actually take that one out. So let's do that. Easy peasy, just got that one out. Next up, I've already moved the little clamp out of the way. So next up is trying to get this thing out. I think the best thing to do would to be get a flat head right in there and just kind of unseat it a little bit and be able to prop it out. So wish me luck. And there it is. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. I had a bit of pressure on the line still because I've been testing each one as I put them in. Just put one plug on and hit the key over to the on position. If I can hear it turn on, I know it's working, so I wired everything all right. So this guy is the last one. Let's get that new one in. All right, I got it in. I got it working. I got no leaks because I've tested everything, at least from priming. So now I get to put everything on the left-hand side back together, which is not bad for the cold air, but all of this crap up here, I just got to remember where all the hell these bolts went. That's going to be fun. They're all over here. Oh God, and that bracket too. All right, everything finally put back together. Put my intake back on, make sure everything's still plugged in. This getting put back is not too bad. It's just the bolts on top and the two on the side for the lines. That bracket, putting it back in is one of the hardest things. You have to just maneuver it right to get it in there. That took me the absolute longest. But once everything is back in, like I said, I just plugged that injector in, went in the car, turned it to the on position where the injectors start up. I can hear that one running. So I know that one works. I did that with each one. So now I know all four can run individually. I plug them all in, put everything back together. Same thing, go inside, turn it to the on position, get everything primed. You can hear them running. And then if you want to, you could probably start your car just to see if it runs. I did. My battery was pretty dead, but the car starts up. It runs horrible, but I know it runs. So now the last thing is I need to get an E-tune setup for this. So I just get some diagnostics or whatever, send it off, and then they tune this bad boy to make 1,000 horsepower. Or a little less, probably a little less. But that is it for this video. Tune in for the next video where I get this E-tuned, and let's see how much power it makes. It's gonna go fast.